to show.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. This week's guest is a good Instagram friend. We've never actually really talked or spoken, but we're in each other's DMs every fucking day. Like, you'd think we're like trying to like court each other or something, but here we are. We are on the podcast. So this week's guest is going to be my good friend Mannuel Corona. What's going on, man? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good.
Good.
Missing a lot of stuff, but definitely better than I've been.
That's good to hear, man. We were talking the other day, and I could just feel through the screen. You're just not. I was like, damn, man, I feel for you. So
Yeah,
I hear
yeah.
you.
That last UFC card that we were kind of talking while it was happening,
Hmm.
like that was big. That was like that kind of like Cinderella story. Just kind of it kind of spoke to me because it's like, look, dude, keep working, keep on it. Good things can still happen, even if you're like a 101 underdog. Even if you're in round 5, you never know when you got a head kick coming.
Dude, that last minute. So I was streaming it off someone on Instagram, and they shut it off at the last minute. And I was like, well, not a big deal. Like I think Usman has this wrapped up unless some goofy shit happens. He's got this in the bag, and then like I was like, you
Boom,
know what? Let me
goofy
let me
shit.
just check just to see what's going on. I see him laying down. I was like, that's a weird way to celebrate. And there we have it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think he was
Uh,
probably celebrating returning to consciousness at that point.
yeah, I think he was like waking up like, oh my god, I'm glad my head's still attached.
Oh, dude,
Um,
he took it straight.
and the thing is that good for Leon Edwards. Um,
Yeah,
just and honestly, normally I order every card just about. That was one that was just like, I don't know that I'm interested. And then it's like I'm gonna make it a date night with my wife. Just family time, and then we watched a horror movie, and like as
what'd
we
you
always
watch?
do. That night we watched. What did we watch? It's so fucking hard to keep up because it's like there's so many all the time. We watched something on Shutter. I'm trying to think. Um, oh, hold on, I have my book here because I write
Okay,
down all the movies because I have to. I tell myself I'm going to do reviews, so I write down kind of like a little rating system. Oh, let's see here. It's called Addicted to Horror, the movie logbook. So let's see. What did I
nice.
watch that night? In, incant, incantation, incantation.
Incantation,
Um,
incantation.
and it was in Cantonese, and so we had
Dude,
to read the subtitles.
foreign horror is like some crazy shit though.
Oh yeah, it's on another level.
Oh
There
yeah,
is it's almost like over here when we do horror in the U.S. It's like whoever's doing it's like, oh man, there's restrictions. We got to be careful. Then you go over and you watch a French horror movie or a Korean horror
oh
movie.
yeah. There you go.
And it's just they're like, fuck it,
Don't get
just
me wrong.
go.
U.S. has it when it comes to the slasher film. We're the
Oh yeah,
king of the
oh
slasher
yeah,
films. But straight up horror, straight up like mess with your mind. You're like worried about your kids. That foreign
yeah.
stuff is no joke.
Actually, just before we started recording, I was actually watching the original Ring,
Okay.
and it's like just there's something about just watching horror, and I just kind of talked about this on my other podcast. It was like that Asian horror is special. They do it different.
Yes.
So so I don't know, man. It's like I can't figure it out. I can't figure out what makes it so good, but I know that it fucks with me, and not a lot of stuff scares me. It's probably because I have to read the subtitles, so I'm
Right.
having to focus. Maybe,
You're more invested. You can't just look
yeah,
around and just listen.
yeah, exactly. Like I, I'm going to After we're done recording, I'll probably just put something on just to go to sleep. But I want to watch the Wailing. It's another Korean horror film, and I'm like, but I'm gonna have to read, so I'll probably do that tomorrow night or something, or maybe this weekend. I think this weekend we're watching Paws of Fury, so lighten it up a little bit, cleanse
A
the
little,
palate.
it's very similar, different in a lot of ways, but similar.
Yeah. I'm sure my wife was like, "What the fuck are we doing?" Like, look, man, I've been having nightmares.
It'd be really terrible if Paul's of Fury actually gives you more nightmares.
I've had some weird dreams, like cartoon related. So, like Jim and
You
the
ever have those?
Holograms.
Have you ever had those? What's that? What's that gummy that everyone does to go to sleep? Melatonin.
Oh yeah, I
Melatonin
have.
dreams are heavy, dude.
So
Melatonin dreams are crazy.
so on melatonin, I don't tend to have too much of an issue, but if oh man, if I take an edible and say, you know
Oh,
what, I'm gonna
that's
pull out
religious there.
and listen to some music. Holy shit, man! It's the dreams are just fucking bananas, and I wake up and they feel real. So when I wake up, I really feel like I won the lottery and I fell off my yacht. And it's like, dude, like I was like, what's wrong with you? It's like, dude, I don't want to talk about it. But the blankets feel so good on my body after I take a fucking gummy and I
You can
lay
feel the whole
down.
blanket.
Oh my god, it's like the blanket's hugging me. I don't know, man. Fuck, why am I recording right now? Why am I not just chomping down right now and just like listening to fucking Bjork?
That's gonna be our next podcast. Our next podcast, we're gonna shoot some edibles and then just see where that goes.
Oh, I can tell you where it's gone. It's like I've done it before, just in the middle of it. I was bored with doing my other show, and I look at my co-hosts. As soon as they hit, well, I look at them and go, "Hey man, you want one?" He motions to me like maybe half. They're just they're like baby ones. They're 10 milligrams. They're,
Right.
nothing crazy. So I break them one in half. And about 10, maybe 15 minutes in, I look at him. I give him the look. I nodded to him. He was like, "Oh shit," and I was like, "Oh shit is right."
It's
And
about to
I
happen.
I think I slurred the rest of the show. I don't.
Dude,
I wasn't making
I,
any sense.
I need to know what episode this is. I gotta
Um.
listen to it. You gotta bring it. You gotta find that, post it.
Yeah.
So do like a flashback on Instagram. Like this is like throw that down and be like, hey, for a real trip, check out this last episode.
I'm wondering if it was the 1 year anniversary episode, because it sounds like some shit I would do. It's like, just, oh yeah, we're celebrating. They're like what? No, oh, it was fourth going into 4th of July. I know exactly which one it was because we recorded July 3rd, and on July 4th I couldn't move. I laid on the couch all day. My daughter was like, "Dad, do you want to play dolls?" I was like, "Yeah, honey." And I took Mulan and just basically like fucking made weird noises and then dropped the doll a couple times. Like, "Dad, you're not
Oh
playing right."
Lord,
I was like, "Baby, can we just
you're
wait until the fireworks?"
you're like Mulan got injured when she was training, and
Yeah,
she needs to lay down.
yeah. Like my dad or my daughter's gonna tell these stories when she's older. It's like my dad was such trash. He tried to play dolls
No,
though, but he
no,
just didn't do it right.
there's an innocent to that too though, where they're like, yeah, my dad tried, but he was a terrible doll player.
Yeah, it's like he didn't know how to play dolls right at all. It's like, well, and sometimes I would like, she was like, "Dad, you want to play dolls?" I was like, "Yeah, but you gotta let me bring Doctor Doom or Magneto." She's
Oh,
like,
see,
"No,
there
Doctor
now we're talking.
Doom." And then, or I have the Thanos figure as well, and I was like, "Okay, it's Thanos then." It's like that's when it goes off the rails. So, yeah,
I seen your collection on a post, so I do know that like it can get pretty off the rails with what you got.
yeah. Well, now I'm doing the Justice League, so I just picked up a Superman and John Stewart Green Lantern, and now she's like suddenly she wants those figures. And I'm like, I mean,
Oh,
I'll get them for you, but you can't have mine.
you
It is
can't have
she
mine.
she wants mine. That's what it is. Is that she wants my
Those are
figures.
more special, dude.
Well, also they're already set up too. So she's like, "Oh, your Superman's on the stand. I want that one." It's like no, like go. And my wife doesn't want her to have a Harley Quinn. So whatever. So, like I'm getting her one for Christmas.
What's wrong with Harley Quinn? Besides,
I
that terrible, whatever. Besides those obvious things,
well, and that's what I try to explain to my wife. It's like, there's nothing wrong with Harley. Well, there's a lot wrong with Harley Quinn,
there's a lot
but
wrong. Let's be real.
when she watches this one cartoon, I think it's DC superhero girls. Harley Quinn's portrayed, she's the wild student, but it's nothing bad.
But she's
So
still, yeah, within the realm of good.
yes, so it's like it's fine. My daughter was like, I want to be Harley Quinn for Halloween. My wife was like, absolutely not. So now I'm like, shit. Like, and I told her, I was like, there are okay Harley Quinn Halloween costumes for little kids. There's two
Yeah,
of them,
definitely.
but
Animated series Harley Quinn was pretty dope.
yeah,
Pretty
well,
pretty pretty mellow.
and that's one that was like, look, she can do the original Jester outfit. She can do the superhero girls outfit where she's basically in like a sweater vest
Hmm.
and jeans, and it has the Harley Quinn colors. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. And
Yeah.
like I said, I'm gonna like because my wife doesn't like it now. I'm gonna end up getting her like two Harley Quinn figures for fucking
Oh,
Christmas. And
that's oh, I see where you're going with this.
yeah,
Spending.
it's like don't look if she didn't react so strong, I'd be like okay, whatever. But
Yeah.
because she has such a strong reaction, I'm like, oh, I'm a spiteful human, and like this is why I have to like I can't like I have to tread lightly because if my wife divorces me, I'll never ever find another spouse because of shit like
You
that.
already got, yeah, you already got her, dude.
It's like I have to hold on to this one because anyone else was like, "Oh my god, this guy's a dick." And I'm like, well,
Living the rest of your marriage on that line between
yeah,
between divorce and happiness.
yep. I'm just like towing the line every so often. I'll like get close to the line. And I'm like, I'm just gonna tighten all the jars, and then like go to jujitsu. So yeah,
Dude, I mean
but
that's my big thing right there. See, I'm missing jujitsu something awful. Like it's just been beyond a difficult journey, and that's what it's always a journey.
yeah,
But my journey has been, I mean, tragic. Honestly, tragic.
sure. Well, I know, when we're setting this up, one of the things you're telling me is like you did, you returned, and like you said, it's try, things didn't go great. So like, what went on with everything going in, if you don't
So
mind talking about it?
so I've always used sports as a solution to everything. Like, young, I grew up in a different kind of startup. It wasn't the most picture perfect kind of start for me growing up. I was in the foster system, and there's things that happened that would cause a normal kid to be like, hey, I'm having a rough time, right? So my thing was sports, and I was terrible I was trash at basketball, but as any good trash basketball person can will do, I became good at defense, right? If you suck at basketball, you become great at defense. You're like,
That's
I'm gonna
all
be
we have.
second to last. Yeah, I'm gonna be second to last pick, because at the end they're gonna be like, that guy sucks and that guy plays defense. So that's like playground status, right?
Yep,
Uh,
I know the feels.
yeah. So that was my thing. I always used sports, and as I got older, it became skateboarding, and skateboarding became kind of my life. Like I played football. I actually played football for high school, and it was fun, and I enjoyed it. But even after football, I would still go Hell Week. After Hell Week, I'd during the practice, after the practice, boom, back on my board, back to skateboarding, and I just did that forever. I got a little older, and I wanted to find something else, and then where I grew up, it was really, really popular to do like backyard boxing, backyard wrestling. And then when UFC kind of came out, it was, well, backyard UFC. They didn't even call it MMA. They just called it backyard UFC. That's where we were at that point, right? And so yeah, so I jumped into all those things too, and I did like I had some fun, and definitely not trained, but just enjoying kind of the way you do as a kid, right? Kid to
Yeah.
early 20s. And then, fast forward, um, I ended up getting a pretty bad back injury. And it was not an injury you can kind of point your finger like, oh, well, yeah, you fell off the roof. It was one of those weird situations where, like, I'm working and I'm just as a mechanic for a bike shop. And one day I just moved wrong and I'm like, oh, my back hurts. And I'm 30 years old at this point. I'm like, this is weird. Like, I at that point I was actually racing bicycles. So I was pretty good fitness. Like um, I weigh about 235 right now. During my lightest bicycle racing weight, I was 155. So that's a huge, huge, huge amount of weight. During that time is when I randomly had, like, I was still in good shape. I was maybe 170, and all of a sudden my back started to hurt. Didn't know what it was, kind of ignored it for like 6 months, and then one movement, it was like just a twist or something, and then that was it. It locked. I couldn't move. I had to like hunchback of Notre Dame, like wobble my way to a bed, and then I stayed there for like 3 days. Didn't move, and that's when I realized, oh, there's something wrong with my back. You know, so that's when it started, and I used sports to make my way back because back injuries are interesting. Where like obviously you can't use it too much, you can't be too hard on your back, but if you put on weight, it's even worse for your back because you're carrying it 24/7. So I started. I was living in like West Covina, basically. It's La Puente, but no one knows where La Puente is in Southern California. So I was living in West Covina, which is a more known city, and I found this. It's like actually it's called Hacienda MMA, and I just found this spot. I'm like, oh, I could take my kids there. That'd be cool, so they can learn something. It'd be great, you know. They had kids classes, they had adult classes, and I got suckered in, man. Like, I saw the kid classes, I took them there, and I'm like, man, that looks like fun, man. And this looks like this is what I wanted to do. Like, I want to do this. I can do this, and I'm like, I'm gonna start easy, and I did. Actually, I did. I started easy. I was smart about it. I worked my way. I never got like a belt or anything. I only did it for like maybe a year, maybe a year and a half. Got some stripes though, and I felt really good about them because I felt like I earned them. And I was just in it, and I had dropped all kinds of weight. At that time, I was 240, and I went down to 195 in the span of like a
Nice.
year. And it was all normal, just like still eating like crap, still drinking beer, but just enough working out that the weight was coming off. I was getting fit, my core was strong, and I felt like I was going to go somewhere with my physical, like just physically. I felt like, oh, I have a future here. And then COVID,
Of course.
and everything shut down, and like my wife and my kids have asthma, so it was a greater fear for us, especially like COVID now. Like people like, oh yeah, whatever, you got COVID, but COVID then, when it first happened, it was a pretty scary situation, especially with how the reports from New York and all that kind of heavy stuff, right?
Absolutely.
So I stayed away, and the kids stayed away, and I just stopped doing it. I just stopped doing it, and a year went by, year and a half went by, almost 2 years went by, and yeah, it was pretty bad. Like not having any kind of real sport in my life. I was still trying to ride a bicycle, but it wasn't the same anymore. Like I wasn't able to get the same kind of miles as I used to, and being a dad and a husband also takes time. So yeah, like that was the end of my jujitsu until I said, you know what, I gotta go back. When I go back, dude, it was the most embarrassing shit in my life, dude. I was ready to cry from the pain and cry from the embarrassment, equal
Mm,
parts. I'm there. I'm we're doing they're just teaching us. the move of the day or whatever, right? And we're there, we're learning. I don't even remember what it was anymore, man. And I'm scooting. I'm literally scooting my butt forward to get into someone's guard. And as I'm scooting towards them, I just feel this like pinch. And this is my first time back in like 2 years. First time back in 2 years. I'm scooting my butt forward, my fat ass forward, and I feel the pinch. And I told the coach, and he's a really cool guy, Coach Chris Santos. I'm like, Chris, I think I did it. I think I hurt myself. He's like, no, for reals? Like, what are you doing? Nothing, dude. I was scooting. He's like, oh, well, take it easy, right? And I think I could side with you in this because I hear you say that you're a brute. Well,
Yeah.
that's if the hammer was the right tool every time, I'd be perfect. That's the only tool I got, right? So I kind of said, well, let me see how I feel. Let me roll, and I got carried away a little bit. And obviously, with that kind of injury, if you warm it up, it actually feels better before it gets much, much worse.
Yeah.
So I rolled a little bit on it. Didn't feel too bad. It kind of felt a little bit better almost. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, we stopped for a second, and I'm like, oh shit, I I can't get up. And they were so kind, man. They waited there for like 45 minutes to an hour with me until I was able to wobble up. They helped me up the stairs to get back in my car. I somehow made it back home. And then, I kid you not, I was bedridden for a week. I was stuck. As embarrassing as it sounds, like I was like peeing in a bottle. Like I couldn't move. I took my meals there. It was bad, dude. It was bad. I probably should have went to the hospital, but I was like not gonna go.
That's definitely that brute mentality. Like, I hear you. Backs are tricky, dude. They're real tricky.
They
My
are.
wife, she had a bulging disc in
Mm,
her back. They removed it, and it's hit or miss with her most times. But it's tough because you never know. There's some days we'll be out and about, and she just can't take it. And then there are other times, you never know anything was wrong with her. My co-host for Colompton, he's always had a bad back, and I used to always clown him about warm ups because
yeah.
I, I don't warm up. I just jump out there and
Right.
go.
Purple
Whereas
belt status.
I would love to be at that point where I could just say, oh no, I don't got to do these warm ups on purple belt. Nah, I'm still at blue, and they're like, bitch, get out here. Like, fuck. But he usually has to. I remember before we played basketball, he would have to warm up for like an hour before he could get onto the court. And I remember, giving him a hard time. But as I'm older now, I don't have. I have a bad hip, and I can get around it.
Right.
But I get it though. That pain, you can't fuck around with not warming up properly. It's like and I think for individuals like yourself and I, we are our own worst enemies when it comes to getting out there because we don't like going light is not a gear for us. It's like, nah, I'm fine. I can go full clip, and then the pain hits. So I'm sorry to hear that, man.
It's such a weird injury too because recently I was super fortunate, and obviously not just fortunate, like dedicated. It was my wife's goal more than mine. She wanted us to buy a home, and I just you kick it into high gear and you just go, right. And so we were able to get a home in California, which is right off the bat. Anywhere, I don't care where you live. You live in California, especially Southern California, and you got a home, like you worked for it. That's a hustle. Um,
Yeah.
we were able to do our hustle. We got our home. We're really happy. Just moved in a few months ago. Well, I dug maybe 100 feet, a 3 foot deep trench. You know, like did it. All the little repairs. Started working on an extra bathroom. knocking out, knocking out. So if you saw me, you'd be like, this fool, he's fine. He's obviously working his back like nothing. Like he's good. And that's the trickiest part about this. Like I'm completely fine until one day I'm not, and then I'm like crippled, like crippled, dude. Like it's the weirdest thing, and it's like it messes with my head because I'm like, man, I feel fine right now. I feel good. I should go to class right now. But I know that that full body movement is not the same as swinging an axe or a shovel or whatever, your hammer. You know, it's just not the same. So I'm trying to get myself there. And actually, that is why, you know, like I said, every dog has his day. You know, Edwards, man, like there, it could still happen. It's still gonna happen. I don't know when. Obviously, I moved now, so I'm going to find out what's in San Bernardino over here. But I won't lie. I'm following a local gym. They seem to have a real good vibe going on. So might have to
Okay.
go visit them.
You know, as the time comes up for you, just take it as slow as you can. You know, and also part of that trickiness to it is you might feel good out there. It's the slowdown that actually I know for my hip. There are times where I feel good, I'm moving, and then it's like I get home and I cool out for a minute, and then that cool out is where I can't move anymore. And it's like, fortunately, my neighbor, he has me doing kettlebell workouts with him right now. So
Okay.
on Wednesdays after I'm done training, I don't really have time to sit down and cool off. Like I come home, I change clothes, eat, and then I'm out there, in the cul-de-sac, swinging kettlebells and fucking moving around. But it's still eventually I'm going to have to slow down at some point. As humans, our bodies, we
Yeah.
have to take a break. It's just a matter of, good stretching, getting your good warm up beforehand. And both are things I know personally. I'm just, you know, I hate a warm up and I fucking hate a stretch. So don't be
It's
me.
tricky. It's no, it's tricky. I think like for me, like one of the problems is not like I'm not trying to toot a horn or anything because my athleticism is just to hide all my lack of technique, right? Um, but I've
Same
always
here.
been very athletic, and so I've gotten away with it my whole life. And even when I was doing BJJ, like from the get go, I was like I had some great roles with some guys that were like when someone's better than you, they're gonna push you to your limit because they could easily just say, "Man, you're done."
Yeah,
But they're like, "All
absolutely.
right, let's see, wipe out, let's see what you can do. Let me let you get this position and then take it away from you or whatever, and let's roll around and let's do it, let's do it." And they're playing a game where they're like kind of playing with fire in the sense that you don't want to get subbed by a white belt, but you want to make it so that they have a chance just to give them that buy, that feeling like, okay, now I'm in this position that I would have never been able to go against versus like some like one of my purple belts that I would roll with, like he would let you go in that position just to A, maybe test himself to get out of it, and
Yeah.
then B, to see how you handle that position. And in those positions, there was not a lot of skill, but there was a lot of force and athleticism. So when you kind of like take that away from me, it's like, oh man, like I'm I'm reduced to like this not trained, really really shitty technique white belt who, if you could do a negative strap, I would probably be there.
Um, well, and I think that's the thing though too, with having athleticism kind of taken away from you, like you said, it covers up the lack of technique. That's one thing that over time with jiu-jitsu, we kind of get to that eventually. There's always that moment where you're like, oh shit, like I actually do know this, versus my first year and a half was just me just being faster than everyone, or being stronger, or equally strong as someone, and just being a brute, just like just trying to run through people. Then eventually it was like, okay, now maybe I should probably learn submission, because I you know I think I submitted one person like clean. Like I know a few of the blue belts, they let me get like arm bars here and there,
Right.
but I'm confident in your return. So
Honestly, I think that I miss it enough. I love it enough that I think I will accept it on its terms, right? I will accept
yeah,
jujitsu on its terms. However, I can have it if I'm the guy who's just, oh, I can't do throws, guys. Sorry, I can't do takedowns. I'm a start on the knees guy. I'm sorry, it's where I'm at. If that's cool with you, cool. If not, I'll roll someone else. I don't even care, dude. I'm beyond those moments of like, well, I don't want to do it if it's gonna be all week. Like, nah, dude. At this point,
yeah,
I'm just like, I'll take it however it comes. I want to get healthy enough. I'm doing weights myself now, but I'm doing it more so just to like maintain the mind, not even the body. I'm just trying to maintain my mind because
hmm
there's not besides stuff around the home or working on my car. I'm not really doing anything physical. My job's not physical. Like this, I'm an office job.
yeah.
So I'm having a hard time mentally being so stationary when my whole life I haven't been.
Yeah, that's a tough thing, especially, once we get into, the older years in our lives where we're not really, again, for me, it was, you got your friends, let's go play basketball, let's go play
Right.
football. And, once you get into the mid to late 30s, football, I think, fell out. Like, football was
No,
going
that
for me probably early 30s, maybe early to mid 30s. And it was like, okay, even flag football was gone for me, but basketball's still a thing. And, even with that, you get to a point where not everyone's down for basketball anymore. So, we have to find creative things for us to do physically, whether it be jiu-jitsu, MMA, Muay Thai, uh, cycling, volleyball, just different things to work with us and keep us active.
I do think, especially anyone that kind of grew up with any kind of athleticism, I think there is that about them that they will. People like I'll speak for myself. I will accept any sport as it comes when it comes. My work has ping pong, so we have ping pong at my
Nice.
work. There's a table there. It's just something that you could do to in between breaks or whatever. If you want to, let off some steam and go play, whatever. Ask somebody, hey, you want to play? And most people will be down. Right? We're actually doing a competition right now. So we're having like a like work wide, like what do you call it, Olympics? This is like a tournament, right?
Nice.
Although we did have an Olympics, to be fair, I have a pretty cool job. Um,
Sounds it.
it's rad, dude. It's rad. But yeah, it's called like so. We're doing ping pong right now, and the boss even actually just today he bought a brand new ping pong table because everyone's using it. So he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna buy a nicer one." And we're like, "Hell yeah, we've got this dope ass ping pong table now." Like a lot of the people working there bought their own ping pong paddles, and that's if you told me when I was 16 that I would love ping pong, I'd be like, "Yeah, right, dude." I'd rather play a real sport. I'd rather go. Let me go skateboard. Let me go play football. Let me go play baseball, basketball. You name any sport, that would be like last on the list of actual sports. That would not be where like, oh, let's go do that. Like, nah. Maybe at someone's birthday party because they have one out there. Like
Yeah, like at a cookout when somebody's got the badminton set out, and you're like, oh, okay, I'll play
exactly.
this. Same
Yeah.
same thing. Ping pong falls in that same pocket.
Same. Yeah. Exactly. Same vibe. But nah, man, I'm freaking. I'm a nut. I love it. I love it so much. I'm totally into it, and I think it has everything to do with just give me that option to do something physical and have it compete, go against one other person, like one on one, me versus them. Let's see what we can do. It's only me. If I fail, I failed. So let me get better. Let me work on this, and that drives me. So yeah, given whatever sport I can get, I'm going to be into it. And if I didn't play basketball for my life, I probably wouldn't care. I, you
Well,
know, football, same thing. But jujitsu, it would hurt me. There would be a part of me who would, oh, that would every time you pass by a gym and you see it, you'd be like, oh man, what are they learning? Oh man, oh, what are they gonna teach today?
Well, also, even with watching MMA, you know, a fight goes to the ground, and you're a grappler, you see what's going on. It's like,
Yeah, there's an
oh,
IQ to it.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's what I was telling my buddy. We were talking about the one championship card that was on Amazon last weekend, and like they do a lot of cool things. They'll have MMA, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai. They'll
Yeah,
have mix matches where it's like Muay Thai then MMA, shit like that. And I was telling my buddy how when we watch MMA, people boo when a fight goes to the ground.
right, right.
And it's like, well, then why don't you go watch Muay Thai? Because it gives you all of the effects of MMA, minus the ground game. He's like, well, I don't watch that. It's boring. It's
Yeah,
like,
it
look,
makes
man,
no sense. It makes no sense. It's just because honestly, it's just it's a blessing and a curse. I love that MMA has blown up to a point where I kind of feel upset if like last Saturday, like this last weekend, I was like, what the heck? Where's the UFC fight card? What's going on here? Like, what's wrong with you guys? Right? Like, I'm spoiled. I'm spoiled. I want my weekly MMA.
I told my wife years ago because, like, I was watching this. I want to say we started watching maybe 95 or 96. My friend, he was in Taekwondo, and his parents rented the first UFC for him.
Oh wow.
So we watched that and was like, oh my God, we were blown away
Oh
because we
yeah.
didn't know what, you know, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu was. We're like, what the fuck is that? So then we watched the next one, same thing. We watched the third one. Hoist, got injured, but he was still fucking murking people. And then we took a break. I know we watched. I think I want to say number. We watched UFC 5. We watched like they actually ordered it, and we watched that one live. But we were in it in the beginning. Like me and my friends, we watched it. We're like, okay, this is cool. And then we faded away from it. As life happens. I remember
Yep,
coming
yep.
back to it. Ultimate Fighter is what really got me back into it, which is what kind of got a good deal of people into it.
Oh yeah.
And I remember, wow, really getting big back into MMA and just watching every card, and when they start doing like free events on Spike. I told my
Oh
wife, I was like,
yes.
one day this is going to be mainstream and everyone's going to be watching it, and I'm going to hate it. And she goes, what do you mean? I was like, I'm going to hate it because I could already see it when we would go out to the bar and watch a fight if we didn't order it at home. The chuckleheads out there at the bar just, like, oh, stand them up, or, just all this
Yeah.
bullshit. I was like, now, once this becomes a regular thing, so when it went to Fox, I remember we're out playing poker one night, and as usual, I'm out because I'm not good at poker. So I got eliminated probably first or second out, and the host he put on one of the FX1 cards,
Okay.
and one of our friends he's watching, and the fight goes to the ground. He's like, "Oh, this is so dumb. All they're doing is humping," and
Oh.
and it was just this thing. Like, and I remember telling him, was like, "Hey, we can go out to the backyard, and I can show you, what's
Yeah,
going on." Because I wasn't training yet. Uh, I gone to a month trial or 1 month trial at a gym local to me, and I was like, okay, I know that I want to get into this. I'm just not there yet. Um, and it was like, okay, like watching the fight, I knew what was going on, on the ground, but the people there are just so fucking obnoxious. But that's part of what I felt like was going to become the thing is, a fight will go to the ground and people are going to be like, oh, this is dumb. Why don't they just stand them up? Or, you're like, no one could ever do that to me. I would just stand up. It's like, okay.
And a lot of that is just people trying to say something for the sake of saying something. There's a
Yeah.
movie. There's a movie Donnie Darko. and
Hmm.
like this kid's trying to relate to the guys watching a football game. He's all, "Go for a safety." And like that's kind of what I think of when someone's like, "Just stand up." I'm like, dude, like he literally can't. Like he
Yeah,
finger forward his freaking leg, man. Like he's not gonna get on. He's gonna try to try to work his way against the fence and kind of wiggle his way up, maybe, but he's not actually gonna stand up. It's not gonna happen.
yeah.
Like the guy holding them down is ridiculous. Like you can't even imagine. Like any
It,
normal person would just give up right there.
it's like, trying to explain to them like there's a process to it, and people just like, whatever, I would just stand up. It's like, I mean, I guess, yeah, you would. Okay, you're right. I mean, even just talking with, um, a couple other people, especially at that time, they're like, talking about fighting. Period. It was like, oh well, I would just, punch them. I just out strike them. It's like
Oh yeah,
it,
yeah, you
it
would.
doesn't work that way. If you can't stop a takedown, and that's just a takedown. I'm not even thinking about like if you can't stop a leg kick.
Oh
You
Lord,
know, it's like you're not punching no one. People.
you wouldn't get that far.
Yeah.
I showed one of my friends just what head pressure feels like against the fence, like, and
Mm,
that's it's miserable, dude. When you put your forehead on someone and you press, it's
yeah.
miserable,
It's not fun.
and it's not fun. It's like it's shitty when they're doing it to you. It's like the shittiest thing. And
Yeah.
I remember learning that and thinking, instantly thinking, God, people get their freaking faces bashed in like this for like 3 minutes of control time against the cage. Like that's
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. Like that's terrible. And that's not even like the worst of it, right? That's not even the worst of it. That's like at its like most mild, the least things happening, trying to fight for position, but that forehead still pressing against your chin, pushing you away. And that's terrible, dude. That's terrible.
I was. I remember when my daughter was what, maybe two. She was little, and we have laminate floors. So I'm like laying on the floor, and I sat her on my stomach, and I'm just kind of like scooting across the floor. And then my wife stood over me like to pretend punch, and I
Uh-huh.
cupped her ankle, like behind the Achilles and everything,
Yeah,
and just because jiu-jitsu, oh, you're standing over me, okay, I'm gonna grab there.
right.
And even just as I'm doing it now, I feel how like tight my hand is. But my wife was like, "Why is your like grip so hard? Like, why is your grip so strong? Like that hurts." And, we're just used to it being on the mats. It's like that. No, it doesn't hurt. That's just what we're used to. Now to think about it, it's like, oh yeah, you don't know because you've not
No,
experienced that.
but go back to like that first when you first started doing jujitsu. Like, re- remember the bruises,
Yeah. Oh
like
yeah.
all those bruises on your arm, on your wrist, sometimes your neck. Like that was just from people grabbing you. Just that grip that people have when they're doing it, and you're like, oh Jesus,
Or
like
just when
I haven't even
someone
got submitted yet, and I feel like quitting just for the pressure on my wrist.
Well, it's just even when somebody just gets a grip and you don't expect their grip to be that strong, you're like, holy shit. Like, and then, like, that's, I'm talking like no gi, somebody gets your wrist and it's like that wrist control is like, yo, how are you control? Like, you got to really work to get your wrist back. So,
Dude, you know what's surreal? Your first time that someone puts knee on belly on you.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh God, dude,
So
that.
for neon belly for me, because I have because I have the colostomy, I've always been protective of my stomach. So that I was a little prepared for in some weird capacity because I have to protect my stomach anyway. So um I remember the first time someone went knee on belly. I got out of there. I was like, gotta go.
Gotta
Can't
go.
stick around here. But no, I know what you're saying though. It's like it's those things like that you're just that first
Yeah,
feel. And actually, someone did because they were aware of my stomach, so they kind of went higher up, like kind of across like my sternum, not yeah, like kind of knee on chest almost.
That doesn't sound
Um,
better.
yeah, yeah. I'd rather them just put it on my stomach. It's like, look, dude, I'll take the surgery. Like,
Take the
fuck this.
surgery to
Like
collapse my
this.
lung here.
Yeah, this shit. It's like I've had a good run. Like, get the fuck off my chest. This hurts. But it's like those little things that you don't think matter until it's there, and it's like, oh shit. Or even if somebody gets your back and they flatten you out,
Right.
that shit's
That it's a
like,
super helpless feeling, dude. It's super terribly
yeah,
helpless.
yeah.
Eh,
It's a
But
real
that's the
fight to
thing.
get
Like,
out of that.
I'm no seasoned veteran in by any stretch, right? I did it for a little close to 2 years, and that's it. That's not even a long time, right? But I can tell you, just from the first, say, 2 3 months that I was training, the respect level goes up dramatically when you watch an MMA fight. The
Yeah,
respect level goes up because instantly you can associate it with just some of the minor things that you've done. You can only imagine that highest level, the highest
yeah,
level of doing that. Like if this is some dude who's a blue belt doing it to me, and it's like I'm ready to like go crawl into a hole and die. Like, what would the absolute best of his area that led him to regional to led him to UFC? How much would that hurt? How good is that? How good is that human being at that level?
yeah. It's and the thing too, like in the gym, they're not really like going full clip on you most of the time.
Oh,
So
no way, no way.
imagine like if you're actually in a competition or an MMA fight and someone's really you know giving every
They
bit of
don't care about
everything.
you.
Yeah, it's
Like they
like
don't care.
what was I looking at earlier? What I can't remember. My brain is all foggy from everything. I
Life.
was looking at something. I was thinking. I was like, damn, dude, like that's like whatever happened. It was like we're not trying to hurt each other, but
Right.
in the interest of trying to get the submission, it's like you can't, like if you go for a wrist lock. Like when I go for wrist locks, I'm going really slow because I'm not really trying to hurt anybody with a wrist lock in the gym. But I know like I can get the wrist lock if I actually go the you know, full speed with it. So, looking at something like that, it's like, damn, dude, imagine if that's just all the time. People constantly going for like heel hooks, ankle locks, toe holds,
And they're going and they're snapping into it and going full gas into it from the moment it
yeah.
starts. Yeah.
And it's like,
That's why I knew, like, because you get to know yourself a little bit when you're training. What I found out about me is I was never gonna get someone with an armbar because I just there's something about me knowing the other person. I mean, maybe in a real world situation, I mean, hey, goodbye
oh,
arm, right? Like you're not gonna think that way. It's just like any other situation that you're just reacting. It's a whole different world, right? But it's just part of me was always like, okay, let me do it enough that he knows that he should tap. But I could not get myself to. And if they wiggled and they got out, I'd rather do that than go the opposite way and push it to a point where like, oh, he used you, dude, you should have tapped. Like it would never. I couldn't get myself to do that. Right? Those guys that could, those guys did it to me like that. Like, oh, I'm tapping now because it's about to snap off.
yeah,
But I wasn't one of them. I learned that about myself that in a non competition, just a roll, even if it's like open mat, doesn't matter. Like I can't do it. I can't throw an armbar with enough oomph in it to really make that person tap because I would just hold it to a position where like, hey, I know you feel it. Oh, I'm gonna keep going, but they'd find the way out. I'd give them too much time basically, and they'd get out of it because I just mentally couldn't get myself to go there.
well, I think there's something to be said about that though too, because I mean, again, when you're in the training room, you know, it's a weird line because you want to train to a point where you can do the moves and get the submission, but at the same time, you don't want to hurt your partner either. So it gets really, really like when we work on arm bars, like I know I don't, I'll have the arm, but like kind of I'll hold it tight, but at no point do I, kind of get in a position to crank it. Um, I think the only things I really go for in the training room are chokes
Yeah,
because there's time for you to kind of, for the most part, most chokes, there's some time. There's a couple of them that come on quick, but most chokes, there's some time for you to understand the severity of the situation. You know, whereas with an arm bar, wrist lock, ankle locks, you can kind of get away with it a little bit. I've been injured twice off ankle locks because they just went on so quick.
right.
But like just fucking, some of these submissions, especially when it's a joint lock, you gotta be,
Mindful.
cautious.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So,
yeah. I learned when I first learned Ezekiel's. That was, oh my god, that was. I
mhm.
fell in love with it, dude. I fell in love with it. I felt like I could actually. That was the first. I think I would say a good choke that I learned that I could actually get. Like I could surprise
Yeah,
someone with that, and I was like, oh shit, I can do this. And that was monumental for me, man. Because there's, like you said, I think there's a part of me that like, oh yeah, if my goal was to get you inside and hold you there, like I felt that I was big enough, heavy enough, and I had enough in me to probably do that.
yeah,
But but okay, so I'm gonna keep you there forever, like that was basically it. But when I found out I can do an Ezekiel, oh my god, it was. And something happens, something happens to you, just like as a human being, where you're like, oh my god, I've learned, like you leveled up almost.
yep. It's like playing a video game. It's like the screen flashes and then it's like bling, level up. Um, there's a charm to it, especially if you are really working for it. And that's the thing about jujitsu is like it's earned. Nothing's given to you in jiu-jitsu. Is the ultimate bullshit detector. You get out there on the mat, and if you are trash, that's the game you're
That's it.
bringing today.
Yeah.
But you have to live with that trash. Like I went out to visit a gym out in Virginia a few months back, and I wouldn't say I was trash, but I definitely wasn't grappling to my fullest potential. But I just felt like because there's a thing, when you're a visitor, you don't want to like be that guy or you're the visitor going full clip, but at the same
Right.
time, it's like, well, they're
And
going full
everyone's
clip.
looking at you like, "Oh, we're gonna show him what we got."
Yeah, like they're beating the shit out of me. I mean, the thing is, like, most of the guys are going for chokes. And it's like, like, good luck with that. Like, just because, again, my neck is weird. So it's like, you're not getting in for the choke. Um, So, at the very least, that it's like, look, you fucks can't choke me, and I'm not letting my arms be exposed for any arm bars or kimuras or anything. So, but at the same time, I wasn't attacking. It was one of those things where it's like I didn't want to be a shitty guest, so
Right.
I didn't want to go in there. I was like, just start like
And maybe
whipping
there's
up on
some
their
kind of
guys.
unspoken rule. Maybe there's like some kind of unspoken rule where if you go to a new gym and you don't really get submitted, but obviously you're letting it kind of like you're filling out the place. It's like
Yeah,
then like okay, like this guy, he proved that we couldn't really sub him very easily. He proved that he held his own. And then you go there again, and now you're like, "Hey, buddy, what's up?" Like now there's like there's no more pressure of like we got to show this guy or whatever, and then you can just kind of roll more comfortably and be more you and play your game as opposed to like the defensive game where you're like, "I don't want you to sub me, but I'm not here to try to sub everyone either because there's
yeah.
gonna be some bigger, better dog out there to get you at that point."
And I'm certain, they weren't going like full clip either. I'm certain if they really want to fuck me up, they probably could. Because I was going against like their higher ranks. I wasn't in there going against all their white belts. I was going against like the purple and brown belts.
You weren't going
And,
against me,
so I did go against a white belt in there, and he was kind of fucking dogging me too. I was like, okay, like, and like I was actually trying with that one. It's like, all right, this dude's fucking me up. So that means those other guys weren't really trying. But it's again, it's the training room, so we should all be aware because one thing I always try to remember too is people got to go to work the next day. So
oh yeah,
we got to take care of each other. And plus, as I always say, like I wear a cup when I train, And everybody's like, "You wear a cup?" I was like, "Look, man, I'm a hobbyist. This is a hobby, so I'm not getting hit. I'm not getting hit in the dick for a hobby. Like that's just
I'm
not
not.
how I rock."
Yeah. Hold on. How serious are you? I'm pretty serious. Are you willing to get hit in the dick for this? No, no. Okay, you're still a hobbyist.
Yeah, it's like then you're a hobbyist, my friend.
Yeah,
You
you're
know, people are
sorry.
like, dude, I can't train with a cup. How do you train with a cup? Easy. Like I sleep very easily at night knowing that my balls did not get punched because whenever I don't wear my cup, I for sure get hit in the nuts. And it's like, all right. And I try to make sure you know, when I'm getting ready for class, whether it be at work or like I'm leaving home to go to class, I make sure that that cup is available because if I forget it, I know I'm catching the knee to the nuts,
Oh
and
wow.
I just have to accept my fate. So, and it's been a while though.
You know,
It's
I
been
I
several
never
years.
used I never used a mouthpiece.
Oh wow.
So I never used a mouthpiece, and I paid the worst possible price once for it. And it was a shitty technique, rear naked choke that wasn't close, but it was over my mouth. And
Hmm.
oof, it was that bloody smile where you smile after it, and you're like, "Oh crap, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's." I told him like, "Don't feel bad, man. I could have tapped if I wanted to because it did hurt. Obviously, my mouth is full of blood, but it's not his fault. I should have tapped if I didn't if I didn't like it and it was enough for me not to like it. I could have just tapped, but I didn't have a mouthpiece on, and I paid the price, dude. All my lips were just torn as shit inside.
Yeah, that's one thing I refuse to like the cup. If I forget it, I can survive it. It sucks. But the mouthpiece, I can't not have a mouthpiece. First off, I'm terrified of the dentist. So if
There
anything
you go.
happens and I lose a tooth, oh fucking well. Like, but I think the one time I didn't have a mouth guard in, there was one of my teammates. I was trash at takedowns at this point, and I got a double leg on him. But when we landed, my teeth clinked together really hard.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh shit. And that's when I remember, like, I don't have a mouth guard in. And I went into panic mode. So, I maintained position and everything, but it was just pretty much just like hold position. I wasn't even trying to advance my position because I was afraid of getting hit in the mouth. So, again,
Yeah.
this is a hobby for me. So I protect my balls and my teeth. If it's not a hobby, then those things are fair game.
I'm not sure that they're fair game even if it's not a hobby. I mean, pros
Maybe.
are wearing cups and mouthpieces, bro. Like, I'm pretty sure that's not like there's no prerequisite. Well, wait, you want to be a pro? You got to take that cup off and take take a punch to the dick. Like,
So, and it's funny because I see a lot of teammates not training, like they train without a mouth guard. I'm like, really? That's some psychopath shit. Like, because I know for me, part of what helps me with like help prevent me from getting choked is having a mouth guard. Like me biting down on the mouth guard kind of helps me in a weird way. I don't know how, but I'm
true,
no rocket surgeon or anything, but
true,
it seems like yeah, I just go brute
true.
style, bite down on the mouth guard and
Just
say
bite down
fuck
harder.
it. Yeah, it's like
How do I
I'm
get
gonna
out of
choke
this?
you more.
Just bite down harder.
Yeah, just bite down on the mouth guard and go forward. There's like, yeah, but you're in the guillotine. Like, yeah, figure that shit out.
Bite down and hard enough, long enough till the arm burns out.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I do. It's like if someone is like in a good position, it's like, well, fuck it, just bite down this mouth guard. They're gonna get tired before I do. Uh, like my wife, like I always joke about is like, oh, I should just start driving around with a mouth guard in just in case I get into an accident. She was like, I swear to God, if you start driving with a mouth guard, I'm not riding in a car with you. I was like, all right.
Oh, I could see that. I could see that.
Like, I like riding in my car, but it's peace and quiet anyway. Put on a podcast and just fucking go. But like, she won't allow it. So, like I said, I'm towing the line.
The truth is, I have not been good at podcasts for a very long time. I would start them, never finish them. And one thing changed dramatically for me.
Mm,
I drive 100 miles a day to and back from work.
that'll do it.
That I have time.
Jesus.
Guess what? I have time, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it now. I like them. Obviously I dig yours, but
Thank
more
you.
so I dig others too as well. Like I just didn't think I'd ever be the podcast kind of person. I'm like, oh, I've tried them, and yeah, if it's really interesting, I can hear samples. I like the clips better, right? That was always my
Yeah.
mentality. I like the clips better. But nah, dude, having that amount of time, like on a good day, it's an hour drive one way. On
Jeez,
a
yeah.
good day. On a bad day, you're there for hour and a half, 2 hours. So yeah,
Jeez.
podcasts are freaking dope, bro. Like they're it's a new avenue for me. I can get to check them all out, catch up on some of the stuff I never was into before, and it's pretty dope.
I yeah, podcasts are fun. Like it's just like it's a good way just to it's like audiobooks, essentially. You
Yeah,
find a good like Radio Lab is always a good one. Um like I personally I listen to Joe Rogan depending on who the guest is. It's
right.
like if it's I think he just had Mark Zuckerberg on. So I was like, I'm interested in that. I want to hear what's going on with Facebook and all their fuckery. Um,
Meta
it,
now,
it,
meta. Come on,
yeah, Meta. Sorry, like, fuck, they heard me. They
dude.
shut me down.
No, I gotta be nice to Meta. They just fuck me, dude. My son has one of those Oculus,
Mm.
and I had like some kind of random ass like Facebook that I was using. And I was like, you're not gonna get me. And then all of a sudden they switched to Meta and they're like, oh, you can't validate your Facebook account.
Oh,
I was like, oh. So I had to like
see,
redo everything. It was terrible.
that's the thing. It's like I accidentally created another fucking Facebook account. Don't ask me how it happened accidentally. It just I looked and I was like, "What? How do I have another fucking account, dude?" So,
Hey,
and I know it was me because uh, I was trying to do something with BJJ Wiki and then off the mats and then So You Like Horror. I was trying to do this shit to make their I guess business
combine them or
accounts
something.
maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to interconnect and I ended up making a new Jake Dante account and it's like, oh fuck.
Hey, you
Um,
better be careful, man. That's the kind of old people stuff that we see our grandmas doing. Right?
yeah, well, yeah.
How many grandmas do you know that have like 17 Instagrams?
Dude, my mom has at least 5 Facebook accounts.
They
We
forget the
have
password. They're like, fuck it. I'm gonna make another one.
I don't know because her and her husband every so often I get a new friend request from them. I still
Yes.
reject. I reject them all because it's like,
It's all
look,
suspicious now.
yeah. Well, I told him it's like, look, it's not my fault that you don't know how to use this. So I'm friends with the first one, and that's all there is. I'm
If
not
you
gonna be
want my
friends with the
friend,
other
if you want,
five.
if you want to be my friend, you gotta go find your old password.
Yeah, it's like, well, we want to see pictures of Sophie. I don't put pictures of Sophie on fucking Facebook anyway. So you're barking up the wrong tree. You may as well just shoot me a text and say, hey, can you send me pictures of the kid? I'm like, yeah, I
There
got
you
a
go.
whole fucking folder of them. Like I dump them off to my mom and my sister like drugs. I'll send them like 10
Here's
pictures every like 2 months. Like, here's your fix.
here's your fix. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Um, but yeah, it's like listen to the different podcasts out there. It can be a lot of fun. I like, and even like doing my own podcast. It's like, oh, okay, well, it like it's therapy for me.
I
It's
can feel that.
it helps me like a lot. So like I started up during COVID because the big thing for me is like when you can see your friends. I was like, well, shit. I need to figure out a way to connect. So all my friends who had podcasts, I would listen to all their podcasts,
Hmm.
so I had some sort of connection with them there. We'd still message each other and call and stuff too, but you know, not spending all your time talking to them like that. So it's like, all right, well, and I'd already want to
It's a
start a
cool avenue.
podcast. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like at this, like with off the mats, I actually started jujitsu because I wanted to start a podcast like years and
Really?
years ago. Well, because I wanted to start an MMA podcast, but I didn't want to like have a like MMA podcast and not know what was going on the ground. So I was like, let me
Right.
take jujitsu and kind of get a base. Then I fell in love with jujitsu, said fuck that podcast, and stuck with jujitsu for like years. And then when COVID hit, I was like, all right, let's do this podcast now. I've got all this free time,
Right.
and And honestly, I didn't think like, I'm on 2 years now, just over 2 years now. I honestly didn't think I was going to make it more than a month because when I started, I'm like talking to people, trying to get people to be guests, and I had people backing out because my only rule with podcasts, and this is all three of them, is they have to release on schedule. So if it's a weekly show, it has to release every week, no matter fucking what. You
That's huge,
find a
though.
way to make it happen. The horror podcast is twice a month, so it's every first and third Friday, or yeah, every first and third Friday of the month. No matter what, make it happen. Like find a way to make it happen. That's kind of my promise to myself is if I'm going to do these episodes, if I'm going to commit to them, commit. But also with that commitment is, don't miss a week. I,
Right.
I had one friend, she was doing a mental health podcast, and I was with her on that. I told her, I was like, look, you let me know if you need guests, I will find you guests. If you need topics, I will find you topics, but you got to release one every week. And she started off pretty good, and then she kind of fell out of it. And I understand it's a lot of work, but it's not a lot of work. I don't know how to describe it.
I dabbled, so I could tell you, yes, definitely, it is a lot of work, and it's not a lot of work. I think it's a lot of pressure to just start, and once you
Yeah,
hit record, I think it's easy. But everything up until that moment is very, very hard.
yeah. It's like, well, it's even like I told you, like before we started recording. It's like, look, man, I have questions written down. But sometimes I just say, let's just fucking talk. And I don't know which one's going to happen until I hit record. So, there's this weird pressure on myself to kind of figure out, okay, what am I offering for the episode? Number one. But then number two, it's like, with the guest, depending on who the guest is. And I've been very fortunate that everyone that I recorded with, especially recently, it's just everyone's been fucking great. Because like I can say this for off the mats. The big thing to this show that really makes it roll, it's the guests. You all as guests, you come on and we have a good conversation. Whereas if I come like if I've had only one guest that I can say personally I felt like wasn't really a good guest, and that's also on the host too. So I wasn't great as a
But it's
host.
tricky because I know that when I was trying to get content for like the bicycle stuff I was doing, I
Hmm.
met some people that were super dope. They knew about cycling. They lived it. They're like, dude, this I would love to sit down and just talk to this person, hit record, and it'd be amazing. But then you press that
Yeah,
button, and just sometimes the person that they are doesn't translate. They just it doesn't work sometimes, and it's the weirdest thing.
yeah.
Like it's just odd, but it happens.
I had someone. Actually, I never had her on, but like she made a very interesting point about recording the podcast, and I'm sad now because I never got to have her on the show. We tried to get together, but um, we just kept rescheduling. I was like, all right, I got to move on. But she was like,
Yeah.
as we're talking about trying to set up, she was like, I'm not really sure, what to talk about. She had all these fascinating topics, to talk about in areas of expertise. And one thing that she said was like, well, I think ultimately it should be fine because when you have people on as guests, people love to talk about themselves. So I was like, you're right. Like we do. Like shit.
But
I've been
that's the
interviewed for my
therapy
own
aspect,
show.
I think. That's like the
Yeah,
therapy aspect of it. Like you're just getting you're able to just speak your mind, speak your piece, and just kind of like go. And I think that's the therapeutic part of it. Like, and
yeah,
that might be why podcasts are so successful and interesting because honestly, yeah, the actors are cool and movies are cool, all that jazz. But when you're hearing a human being just talk, that's the really exciting part. If you relate in any way as a human being,
yeah.
like that's what makes it fun.
And for the most part, it's unfiltered. So I mean, you've listened to Colompton. I mean, we
Yeah,
we
that's a
don't
fun
edit
one,
that. We
dude.
just
That one,
like
I dude, that was my first experience. To be honest, even though I met you through like you know, jujitsu and all the Instagram stuff that we did there, like that was actually the first podcast I listened to, and I was like, oh shit, this is really rad. I mean, it's
Like,
beer and it's just shooting the shit. Like that's my bread and butter right there.
yeah, I mean, and that's how it came about. Steve was a guest on episode 7 on here, and he came back for the Hot Ones episode because he can't taste spice. Like, you can give him the hottest spice, he can't taste it. It does not affect him.
That's weird.
And, yeah, so like my teammate wanted to do this, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna bring my buddy on, and I didn't tell him. So my buddy, he's just going through all the sauces without flinching. And eventually, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna tell you, he can't taste the spices. And then after that episode, I text my buddy and I said, so I was like, dude, you want to do a podcast? He was like, fuck yeah. I was like, all right. It was like, and we didn't really have a base or a topic. We were just like, we've been friends for 30 years. So it's like let's just hit
With a
record and
friendship
talk.
of 30 years, yeah, I think a friendship of 30 years is the key there because that's what I noticed, right? What I noticed was there was a chemistry there and it worked. And you're talking about beer, you're talking about movies, but you're not really talking about the beer, and you kind of talking
Yeah.
about the movies, but it's not like it's like that's the reason you're meeting because you're gonna have beer and talk about movies. But that's not the
Yeah.
reason why I listen, and it's not. I don't even think that's the reason why you guys meet. Like yes, that's the idea, but it just like you said, it's friends for 30 years, having a great rapport.
Yeah. And I think that's the key thing to it is just, there is really no objective, you know, like we initially called it Adios Pantalontes, which I was like, my wife was pissed. She was like, that is so stupid. And every time I said it, she was like, that is the dumbest name. Then I go back to my buddy. We were on a basketball team together, and one of the teams, it was called Colompton Mafia. So um, I said, someone was like, dude, there's no reason we shouldn't be using Colompton. And then we brainstormed some ideas. It was like, we could do Colompton Social Club. I was like, perfect. And
Nice.
I think his concern though is like, he was like, nobody knows what this is. So we need to kind of give a reference. And so he was like, let's do Colompton. He was like, let's call it Beer Club. I was like, dude, we got to keep Colompton. We have to at least keep
Yeah.
Colompton because that's your brand. Like, because anyone could make a podcast called Beer Club.
Right.
But if you do Colompton Beer Club, that is your thing. Now I think the problem is, as I'm looking at our social media, the issue is it's like we aren't just like I don't when I repost, I don't repost stuff about beer. He does the beer posts, and those things are fucking awesome. Like everything that he
Right.
posts
Right.
about the beers, he's got all the info. That's great. But it's like the shit that I post is like, look, man, I'm just looking at the internet, and
Yeah. Well,
sometimes,
because that's the trip you're taking though, because it's based again. You guys are meeting up, from my understanding. I could be totally wrong. This is an outsider's opinion, right? But
yeah,
this
yeah,
is what I get from the other side of it, right? Not from the making of it, but this is from the listening of it. It's like you show up and you're like, all right, well, we got these beers and we're gonna talk about a few movies we watched, and then
yeah,
everything else that happens is just life, and
yeah, yeah,
life does revolve. Especially you and I can say that life for us, like the whole reason we started talking, revolved around memes. Just funny
yeah.
shit that we found or we'd share or whatever, and that was enough to just get a couple laughs. Maybe it's how simple that guys are, maybe, but but it
True.
didn't take much more than that for me to be like, hey, this guy's cool. Like, and that's the vibe I feel when I'm listening to you guys. Because you guys are just literally, as the show's going on, and as you do start to mention, like, oh yeah, and here's a beer, by the way. Oh, okay, this and this. Then boom, right back into like, okay, so I checked this out. I was living this, and this happened, and it's like, oh, dude, this is like, it feels like you're a fly on the wall with two dudes who are like legit friends.
the That's the funny thing too is that we forget that we're reviewing the beer. Sometimes we'll start the review and then we'll jump to another topic and we're like, oh shit, we're supposed to review this beer. Like it's like you know, and I always tell him like that's my most fun podcast to do because it's just me getting to be silly and it's just us being friends. Whereas this is fun because I get to talk to different people, but there is some restraint to some degree because it's like I still cuss and I still say fucked up things, but there is just like I I like to say things make him uncomfortable too. Like I make
That's
it a
that
point
friendship, though. That's that friendship.
with those episodes, and then I do an episode on here called Off the Mats Nerdcast with my friend Marilyn Phil. And with Marilyn Phil, I do the same thing. I will just say random shit to make him like super uncomfortable. But we still talk about comic books and like comic book movies. But I make sure to start saying things because it's like I like to see people's reactions to things, but like not in like a bad way. Like I'm not gonna like you know ask an uncomfortable question to get a reaction out of you. I might say as we're talking about WandaVision or Falcon and Winter Soldier, I might say something completely like out of the park that just has nothing to do with it, but it still is loosely connected, but definitely inappropriate. And just to get Phil's reaction. Also, I know like not many people listen to those episodes, so I can say some fucked up shit, and there won't be a lot of backlash. Whereas when I say some fucked up shit on these episodes, there's gonna be backlash because it was like, oh my god, Dante's
Oh
like
damn! You
misogynistic.
put me on the Backlash podcast.
Like, I don't know.
Now I'm worried. Like we've been chatting for a while, and for the first time, I'm worried. I'm on the Backlash podcast.
No, no. We're in a safe zone right now.
Okay,
This is episode
okay,
one.
okay.
Once we get to our like second or third episode, I think that'll be the point. I was like, okay, so look, man, well, this is what we're gonna have to do, man. Like we're gonna have to put
For
this
real.
on one of the other episodes because like I feel like we said some things that probably shouldn't get like aired. Like, and that's the thing. Like when I edit stuff, I try not to like, especially with Columpton. I don't edit that at all.
Right.
I've edited twice because I know I said some things where I was like, okay,
Oh no
that
no
was too
no.
far. That was way too far. I need to take that out. And then with this one, if I edit, well, I do edit, but what I do when I edit this one is, um, like I just had an episode 2 episodes ago. As we're talking, I went into some personal stuff, and I was like, I'm going to edit all that out. But
Mhm.
because we're recording through StreamYard, I can't stop the recording. I think I
Right.
can, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not gonna fucking test it though. So it's like I know that I can edit it out. And then I had a police officer on an episode a while back, and he told me a story, and he was like, can you pause this or I was like, I can't pause, but I promise you I won't. Uh, I'll edit
Use it.
out this
Yeah.
story, and it wasn't anything horrible. I just think he felt better not having the story out there. I think the story would have been fine, like in retrospect, but just to be respectful.
That's
But
fair.
actually, I need to reach out to him because the police knocked on my door the other night, so I need to get him on here. We need to talk about that, and then also just a lot of stuff going on in the media. So I need to get his opinion on it. I need a police officer's opinion on some things. Um, but yeah, as far as like just podcasting and listening, I do appreciate you, picking up the show. Like I always tell people, again, the big thing for doing any of this is as I sit here and ramble, if I can make people feel like you said, you feel like you're a fly on the wall. If I could do it in a way where I make you feel like you're part of the conversation, you're part of the environment, then I feel like that's all I'm looking to do. Like I I don't do any podcasts in a way where I'm trying to educate people because I don't really know shit. I know a lot of
Yeah.
different things that aren't expert things. It's just I know a lot of weird, bizarre facts. Like when I do the horror podcast, I don't do that from a position of I'm going to teach you about horror movies. No, I'm just sitting down with some friends talking shit and hope like podcasts or conversations that people get to listen in on. That's all it is.
Yeah. I love that. That's exactly it, and that's rad. That's super rad because what I didn't know that podcasts would do for me was they actually keep me more awake than music.
Mhm.
I would have sworn to you if someone like when my wife would listen to podcasts and we'd be driving to like Texas or whatever, Like, I'm like, man, dude, I gotta put some music on because that's gonna put me to bed. But it's because it wasn't my podcast, right?
Yeah,
Like, so just hearing people talk, that's gonna make you go to sleep. But if you're actually interested in what they're saying, and it's like, I guess like your vibe, right? If it's your
yeah,
vibe,
yeah.
like then it's good. Then like you won't go to sleep. You're invested. You're
Yeah.
invested, and that's what's rad. Like that's kind of like for sure for me, like the big appeal to things you're doing and a few other stuff I follow. It's
I,
like I'm already invested just because okay, horror not my thing. My wife loves it, right? So that's her thing.
yeah.
She's a believer. Like there's one show that my wife likes and my son likes it too. It's shoot, what was it, man? It's like this one guy who like totally believes it. The other guy was like totally against it, and it's like they have a funny show, right? It's a funny show. I started off on YouTube, and then like someone bigger picked it up.
Hmm.
But that's like my wife and I. Like she's like, oh great. So basically, she always says, I'm the one's gonna die because you're not a believer, so they're gonna kill me, and you're gonna be fine. And I'm like,
I, this feels familiar. I like, I like, I don't know. I'm like thinking like, huh, that sounds familiar. It sounds like something I know.
yeah, man, I'm terrible with this stuff, so my memory is just crap. But it's these two dudes that just talk, right? And that's my wife and I. Like, we'll go somewhere, and she's like, "I saw something." I'm like, "It's the light. You can see it right there. It's reflecting." And she's like, "Okay, but I don't think it was that light." I'm like, "It's right there. I can still see it. It's right there." And we'll just bicker about it. Like, she'll be like, "Did you see that?" No, yeah, I did. She's like, "What was that? Was that an alien?" I'm like, no, it was not. It's probably the ghetto bird flying around. Like,
Yeah, it's some of those things. It like that. I don't know. There's sometimes you'll see something. It's like I don't know. Maybe I'm just too grounded, so I see some. There's got to be explanation for that. You know, it's like there's always an explanation. I think, but there are many people who are like, nope, no. This is what I saw. This is what I believe. It's like, okay, well,
I,
look,
I,
man.
I can't even say I'm a non-believer. I could just say I haven't seen anything to believe in.
Exactly. I actually just said that on the horror podcast. Like, there's
Okay.
a movie called Room 1408 with John Cusack. And I think I might watch that. Holy shit! Where are my DVDs? I'm gonna have to go old school on this. I'm gonna have to actually get a
You
fucking
said
physical media
DVDs,
out.
dude.
Yeah, man. I gotta go physical media tonight. Um,
Got blow
but
on the bottom.
like I don't even know if the fucking DVD player is plugged in. Like I haven't used that thing in fucking years. But but he's like talk about ghosts, and he's like, it's not that I don't believe in ghosts, it's just that I haven't seen one. And I said that on the most recent So You Like Horror podcast, and my guest, like, she didn't get mad at me, but she did give me a hard time about it. And it's like,
Yeah.
look, I'm not saying I don't believe, it's just I need hard evidence. Like I talked about, the basement at my house is creepy at times. And like, so I'm recording in my bedroom right now because my wife works at night. So if like she's home, like part of like we were supposed to record last Friday, you and I, like I wasn't feeling well, but also like I would have been sitting in the basement where it's fucking creepy. So now I got like a stomach ache, and I'm in a fucking spooky basement. And
Okay.
my guest, she gave me a hard time about that. She was like, "You've already said
No,
that the
no, no.
basement's creepy." But
No. There's a big difference between fear and believing in a ghost.
yeah,
Like, I don't have to believe in a ghost to be scared that I'm in a dark room where I can't see shit. Like that's different.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
different. Like I don't know, is it a ghost or a roach? Either way, I'm a little bit scared. Like that doesn't mean I believe in that. I don't believe there's a roach there. And I don't believe there's a ghost there. But
yeah. But
either
there's
way, the
something fucking with
anxiety
you.
of the situation makes you fearful, and that's totally different than believing in ghosts. So
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I I'd have to disagree, but
The-
and not to hate on them because again, my wife thoroughly believes. She
Yeah,
thoroughly
so
believes in it.
same. My wife as well. So and my wife gives me a hard time because I'm into like parallel worlds and like time travel, and she's like, "You believe in that?" I was like, "Well, it's not so much that I believe in it. I hope that is real, you know."
Right.
But and she's like, "But you don't believe in ghosts." I was like, "Well, here, let's agree to disagree. Maybe the ghost realm is just a parallel universe." She was
Oh,
like, "I'll take it." I was like,
I'll
"All
take,
right,
that was a win. That was a win for her.
yeah."
She's all. You walked away, and she's like lipping. He believes in ghosts.
Yeah, it's like we're both like, all right, I got them. It's like, meanwhile, it's like nothing was accomplished. I
No.
still talk my shit. Actually,
Right.
my wife told me, she was like, I listened to your podcast the other day. I was like, holy shit, which one? Like,
You're in trouble.
yeah, she was like, I listened to the one, about the haunted house. I was like, oh, okay, whew, okay, good.
Safe, safe, safe.
They're like, yeah, because I have to think, because like Columpton, I be saying some shit. I be saying some wild shit, so I have to like, well, I don't know which one. You listen to Columpton? My wife actually told me she stopped listening to the podcast. She was like, your voice is so soothing, so it puts me to sleep. I was like, you could just say boring. You can tell me I'm boring. We've been married, forever, so you can just tell me I'm
Dude,
boring. I'm
dude,
not gonna
dude,
get
hold
mad.
on, hold on, hold on. If you've been married forever and she called your voice soothing, you take that as a win, sir. Take that for
Yeah,
the win that it is.
yeah, exactly. It's like, it's like, oh, my voice is soothing. She's like, yeah, it puts me to sleep. I was like, that's called boring, Sarah. Like, you just call me boring. It's okay. I'm
Perspective,
not gonna
bro.
be
And
hurt.
in an alternate universe, it's just soothing. See, full circle, right back to your
Yeah,
agreement to disagree.
in an alternate universe, she was like, dude, I fucking can't stand your voice. It's
Oh,
like,
dude.
yeah. It's like, all right, well, that's fine. That's why we're here. Like,
I'm like, yeah, sure, wife, alternate universe, but we're still married in that universe too.
yeah, it's like, well, like, are we still married in that ultimate universe? Yeah,
Oh,
barely,
definitely.
because your
Barely.
fucked up voice. Like, I hate your voice. And I
Damn.
was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, okay. That's fine. Do I still do podcasts? No, because your voice is shit. I don't want to live in that universe.
She's all, but you're a writer.
Yeah, well, I used to write a lot, but then I stopped because I was just like, I think part of it is I was lazy. Like, there's a lot of effort that goes into writing, whereas I could just turn on the microphone and start talking. It's like, oh yeah, this is a lot easier than writing. So that's probably why my horror movie journal book is like, it just has the movie title but no other shit in it because I'm lazy. So
You're at some point you're like, I got scared.
it's like, how
You're like,
like
whoa,
how did
okay,
you
well,
like
this
this
is.
movie? It was scary. Like, you said that
Hmm.
for all of them. It was
Well, it's a horror
scarier.
movie. Success. Success.
Yeah, like, fuck you want. It was not Bridget Jones's fucking diary.
Right?
Like,
Which
relax. Although
could also be scary.
I was gonna say, I feel like that movie's terrifying in some way. Like,
They were it. Now let me sing a song.